Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This time on the Kindness Project, Buzzbike, Jezza the dog, and we have part 3 of our interview with Andy Fearon.
Welcome, my friends, to another edition of the Kindness Project. I am joined by a girl who made some new friends today. Friends, it's Charlotte Dames.
And I'm joined by a man. He is man. His name's Chris Dames.
That's it.
That's it.
I am man. That is my intro. So tell us.
I mean, you're the main man in my life, aren't you?
Oh, that is so sweet. And we're also joined by the main man in my life. It's Russell Dames. Hello, main man. How are we doing?
I think I was a little sick in my mouth then.
Now you know how I feel.
We are joined by my sugar pie, honey bun.
What?
Russell Dames. You saw
What are you talking about, me, Russell?
Yeah, exactly. Sugar pie, honey bunch. I know that I love you.
Please still be talking to Russell.
I am. Anyway, Russ, how are you? We are going through. Come on, how are you?
I'm doing all right, thanks.
Well, in the Dames' house at the minute, we're all suffering. That used to be a word. Suffering from colds and flus and toothaches and all sorts of good stuff.
I'm quite lucky. I don't see many people, so I get to miss all the flu and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing a lot of people in the minute and seemingly catching everything apart from COVID.
I think that's the trouble with not seeing people for 2 years. Your immune system's sort of weak.
Well, I'm gonna dose myself up with a lemon drink, Lemsip. Other lemon drinks are available. Other medicinal lemon drinks are available. But I'm gonna dose myself up, and hopefully I will feel better soon. How you doing, my little sugar pie? You know I love you.
Appalled by that nicknaming system.
So what's going on in your life? Tell us about your friends.
Jezza, the dog.
Jezza the dog.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't just say a name of a dog and that explains the entire story.
Friends.
Tell us the story behind Jezza the dog.
Basically, we all swarm around Jezza the dog, and now we've got like a group chat.
Right. So again, you've mentioned this dog like he's just wandering around the streets and a bunch of teenagers are just following. Do you want to explain the context of Jezza the dog?
My college has a dog,
right,
that they break out on Mondays.
Where do they keep him the rest of the week?
I think he's one of the reception staff's pets.
Right. So the college brings out a dog on Mondays, and then everybody goes RESQ.
Yeah, and then we swarm around him, and now we have a group chat.
And now you've got Jezza the dog's got his fan club. Do you reckon Russell should have his own fan club?
What would you call it?
The Russell Dames fan club. What do you reckon, Russ?
We had the Satsuma fan club once.
We did have a Satsuma fan club.
Yeah.
We've spoken about on the podcast before.
Yeah.
I reckon the Russell Dames fan club could have at least...
It's got many cult possibilities.
10 members. What cult possibilities?
Every group or
I'd like to see a bit of Russell Dames fan fiction. That's what I'd like to see. What do you reckon?
No,
we're not having that.
No.
How about a bit of Charlotte Dames fan fiction?
No.
Okay, we're not doing that. All right, end of. And can I just tell you my other news, as nobody else has decided to comment meaningfully on this episode of the podcast, leaving the man who's ill to do all the work. What is going on? I got a bike today, and I want to give a big shout out to a company I've used. I've had amazing service from this week called Buzzbike. Now, as we've spoken about over the last couple of weeks of the podcast already, we've recently moved offices. We are now in an office which is a bit further away from my house. I now can't walk to work, but I can quite easily cycle to work. But I didn't know what bike to get, and I didn't want to rush picking my new bike. So I thought, what do I do? And then what do I do? And then a new firm came up on my Facebook feed.
They know what we need.
Where I could, they know. If they're on the Facebook feed, they know. Which allowed me to rent a bike for £20 a month for a few months. I thought I'm going to do that. £20 a month. Bike got delivered today. All sorted. I cycled home.
Not to work?
No, because it got delivered at 10:30 to the office.
You cycled home. How did you find it?
All right. Okay.
Are you used to cycling?
I got a Boris bike or a Santander or a Sadiq cycle the other day, and that was fine. So it's like what they say: you never forget how to ride a bike, do you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is very true.
Can you cycle, Russ?
Yeah, I can cycle. I can ride a bike.
You got a bike?
No, I thought the strain on my legs might be a bit too much these days.
Well,
I too know how to cycle, but
so we all know how to cycle. Unofficial.
I would not choose to.
Unofficial question to the podcast listeners: can you cycle? Can you ride a bike?
Why would you cycle when you can just get a bus and you can sit and read for a couple of stops?
There is a real, weirdly, Cassie and I were away for a spa break over the weekend, and there was loads and loads of lycra-clad cyclists in Windsor where we were staying. They loved to cycle.
I like stationary bikes, but I don't like the moving ones.
What's the point of a stationary bike?
Exercise.
Oddly enough, in the summer, we see a lot of lycra-clad walkers, like hikers.
Lycra-clad? Oh,
yeah, they
wear lycra.
They're usually wearing lycra, like the lycra trousers and the shell suit, the old new style shell suit tops.
Do you like a bit like Russ?
No.
That's not what Kelly told me. She said you love a bit of lycra.
She's got herself muddled up with leather.
What? This went south quick, didn't it?
And moving on swiftly.
She said your lycra pants are amazing. Bit tight, you said, bit tight.
I don't think
they are.
Did.
Huh?
I don't think she did.
She did.
I've got leather pants.
Trousers. You've got leather trousers. They're not pants. Right. Depends on what country you're listening to. If you're listening to this in America, you have got leather pants. If you're listening to this in the UK, you haven't got leather pants, have you? No. Okay.
They're in like if you just expanded, they're shorts.
I hasten to point out though, our biggest listenership is in the US, so
okay, so you might
have leather pants.
Pants would work.
And for you, I do have leather pants.
Anyway,
they're my leather pants.
What Russell gets up in the privacy of his own bedroom with his own lycra is entirely up to him and Kelly. And the fact that there's a hole in a weird place in his lycra trousers is no concern of ours.
Now, I'd like to point out at this point, you know about my adverse reaction to getting dressed for anything. That
is true. You like to be naked. I mean, I think you were a naturist in another life for us. What do you reckon?
I might have been.
Yeah.
I did that as well with my lanyards.
What, bite it?
Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever bitten it because I'm feeling ill. You know, I don't. What do you? I mean, again, we haven't got to the official question of the podcast because we've been too busy talking about Russell's bedroom fetishes. But what we unofficial question of the podcast: what do you do to comfort yourself when you're not feeling well? Like, what do you do to make yourself feel better when you're not feeling well? I mean, firstly, I sleep. What do you do?
I grab a book, put on some music, and then sort of lose focus on the real world and dive into a completely new one.
I go into a new reality. What do you do, Russ?
I'm the same as you, sleep.
Yeah, I'm like a bear.
Sleep it
I
off.
need to hibernate.
Oh no, I can't sleep when I'm ill, other than when I'm like dragged down, sort of.
Well, the problem is when you're bunged up, it's really difficult to sleep. Isn't
Yeah.
it? You know, like, but yeah, sleep and then stay warm. So I like to stay cozy. I like to put on my leather lycra pants and just chill about around the house. But yeah,
Fair enough,
good.
it's your house.
Anyway, let's. It would be weird if I put me lycra pants and chilled in somebody else's house, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But
Unless they
anyway,
invited you over.
anyway, I was in a bit more of a party mood when I thought about this week's question of the podcast, because last week I was listening to a lot of garage music. Now, garage music is the music of my sort of late teens, early 20s, mid 20s. It's amazing, amazing stuff. My favourite garage track, definitely 21 Seconds So Solid Crew. My question, listeners, what's your favourite garage track? We'd love to hear from you. Russ, you got a favourite garage track?
A little bit of luck.
MC Neat. Like it. So you can get in touch with us, listeners, using the following techniques.
Is 21 seconds the one where they each sing for 21 seconds?
21 seconds ago. I got 21 seconds to go. 21 seconds to go.
Right, okay, Twitter. Before it gets too carried away. Twitter is @HonorKindness. Yeah, if you type the Kindness Project into the search bar in Facebook, we'll come up then. If you type the Kindness Project into the search bar for Google, we'll come up then. If you want the website, it's www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. If you want the email, it's honor@thekindnessproject.co.uk. And if you want anything else, we don't have anything else. So, sorry.
If you like a pair of lycra pants as promoted on the podcast by Russell, just visit russellslycrapants.com. Put in the discount code Ross loves lycra, and you will get a 10% discount on lycra pants.
I've already told you the discount code's No Teeth Nelly.
No Teeth Nelly. Okay, fair enough. How much discount do you get for No Teeth Nelly?
15%.
15%. So use the No Teeth Nelly discount for at least 15% on bigboyslycra.com. I'm sorry, russellslycra.com. And you will enjoy it. And on that note, the problem is, right, when we do this podcast, we always go, we tend to find that some of them we map out really well, but because we've all got busy lives, we are doing this very late at night and very urgently, and it's turned into something a little bit nonsensical. But to get back on track, russellslycrapants.com. To get back in track, I want to tell you about a little bit of
Kindness news.
So this is from. Sponsored by lycrapants.com. This act of kindness is small. Study finds small acts of kindness can bolster students' health and wellness. Right, Charlotte, you want to tell us about that?
Small acts of kindness can go a long way, say researchers. No. No.
I've scrolled down too far. Right. Sorry, that sounded like a small act of kindness can go a long way. Say no. Researchers towards bullshit by column.
A small act of kindness can go a long way, say researchers, towards bolstering students' health and wellness. Dr. John Tyler Binfett and Dr. Sally Stewart at the University of British Columbia recently published a study.
Sorry, do you want to be a professional journalist or not? I mean, just go and stop. Well, I'm trying to scroll down to show you a bit more.
Let me do it.
This ain't no Trevor McDonald news.
At the University of British Columbia recently published a study that explores how the inclusion of kindness assignment in an undergraduate course impacted student perception of themselves, their peers, and their campus. While there have been several studies that have assessed the effects of kindness on well-being, there has been limited research into how university-age students understand and enact kindness, says Dr. Binfet.
Thousands of university students returned to Glasgow, Canada in September, and Dr. Binfet notes that while living in the times of COVID-19, every act of kindness goes a long way. We know being kind yields a number of well-being benefits, such as stress reduction, happiness, peer acceptance, and we know mental health impacts learning. The post-secondary environment is often the last training ground to prepare students for life. So we want to understand that we can prepare students for optimal mental health as adults. For this, for this study, volunteer students provided self-reports to determine the extent they see themselves as kind in online and face-to-face interactions and how connected they felt to their peers and their campus. The students were then asked to plan and complete 5 kind acts in a week.
Participants completed 353 kind acts with the main themes of helping others, giving, demonstrating appreciation, and communicating. Students that completed at least 3 of these 5 planned acts of kindness self-reported significantly higher scores of in-person kindness and peer connection.
Listen, we know, I mean, this isn't a surprise, is it? We know that being kind to other people makes you feel better. You know, I've said on so many of the podcasts in the past that actually kindness is sort of selfish because it does enable you to feel better. So the fact that that applies to university students, I think, is absolutely relevant and clearly true. So that is a really good part of kindness news. And our last part of the interview with Andy Fearon from Vineyard Carlisle Church, bit of a legend of a fella. If you haven't listened to the first 2 parts of the interview, please listen to them on the previous 2 episodes. Let's get on with the interview.
Now, Miriam then asked her team, does anybody remember? And you would remember meeting this lady. And people were like, I'm not sure who it was. And part of the thing is, it's so ordinary what we do. So another thing, what happens on there, sometimes somebody will come and they're like, wow, thank you so much. It's just been so helpful. And then I'll say, or somebody will say, hey, listen, on your street, do you have someone who maybe hasn't been able to get out? And quickly people will say, yeah, I know someone like that. And then I'll whisper to them, do you want to become a hope dealer? And they look at me like, what? I said, yeah. Do you want to deal a little bit of hope? And they're like, maybe. I'm saying, okay, here's another bag. But if you take this, you become a dealer. And hope dealing changes things. And then I commission them and go, okay, now you're a hope dealer.
Yeah, you're
go spread a little bit of hope, spread a little bit of kindness. And it's just beautiful when you see people coming who are needing a bit of courage, then become the hope dealer themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You just getting more and more people involved in that project. Then, because I believe, it's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Doing a bit of good and helping people where you can makes you feel better psychologically, and it's great for your own mental health because you know that you're contributing to something bigger than you.
Sorry to interrupt. I feel like if people are saying, hey, I'm struggling a bit with my mental health, I'm like, who isn't?
Yeah.
Let's serve someone. And I'm not saying about just activity because we do need that space, but living a life bigger than our own.
Yeah, got to be done. Now, what I've loved, Andy, is the enthusiasm and passion. I think that comes across in spades. Not only about the work you do, but also about Carlisle. So tell me, I mean, I know you're going to sell it, mate. I know it's going to be amazing. Tell me why Carlisle is so special for you.
Well, Carlisle's interesting for a couple of different reasons. It's a little bit like, and I'll say this carefully, it's a little bit like Chester. In regards to, I don't know if you've been to Chester or people of the listeners have been to Chester.
It's on the edge of Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah, like, well, kind of.
Between Liverpool and Wales.
It's kind of like a beautiful, historic place.
Right.
And it's a little bit like the same ingredients are in Carlisle,
right,
which are in Chester, but it's like Chester have really celebrated them. So there's an industrial feel to Carlisle. I mean, Carlisle is the most besieged city in the UK.
Okay.
It used to be the capital of Scotland. It used to be the capital of England. It's in the borders. So it's known as the border city. And part of the thing was we have these border reavers historically who would come to Carlisle to kill and to steal and destroy. So there sometimes can be a bit of a defensiveness with Carlisle, and sometimes can be a little bit cliquey about Carlisle. However, when Carlisle drawbridge comes down and welcomes you in, oh my word, people will have your back at whatever the cost.
Right.
Like when people in Carlisle give their word, they will do whatever it takes to keep the word. So Carlisle is incredible place historically, but I'm way more excited about the future. It's perfectly located. Like if you were to sell a house in London, man, and move to Carlisle, you could live just about anywhere and have a holiday home too.
But would you let me in? Because it sounds like this drawbridge is...
it just... I feel part of my role is just to put a bit of oil on the drawbridge, and it's coming down quicker. It's coming down quicker.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And I suppose, yeah, as you say, the Kindness Project is about optimism, is about the future, is about making stuff better. And I can tell from you already that you've got big plans for the future. Tell me a little bit about those.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard this thing, I thought, oh, that helps me understand Carlisle. Years ago, they used to bring breakfast cereals to Carlisle.
Right.
And I'm like, what? And they were like, if it can work in Carlisle, because people might not want to try something new, but they said, if it'll work in Carlisle, it'll work anywhere.
Yeah, because of that sort of reticent to take the next step. Right. Yeah. Okay. And then I suppose, do you think that it's taken more encouragement to get your project running in Carlisle? And does that make you optimistic now it's started to sort of have a bit of a sort of a rolling effect and a bit of momentum?
I mean, my wife says I'm a pathological optimist. And I took it as a compliment because I'm a pathological optimist.
Yeah.
But listen, this certainly, I'm not the first. I mean, I did not invent generosity. I didn't invent kindness. I didn't invent community. I didn't invent projects. But when people see Give a Day, because the thing about Give a Day is everybody wins in Give a Day. Say, for example, Chris, you say to your business, hey guys, we've got one day, we want to bless, and we're going to be part of this Give a Day thing. And you say to your team, which charity really matters in your heart? And they may say, well, there's a school, and they do incredible things with kids who are just facing constant difficulties. And then you're like, somebody knows someone who works at a building supply company, somebody who knows somewhere works at Johnston Paints, and somebody knows someone. And then suddenly
you've got a connection, you've got a network, and you can do something quite impressive. Yeah.
And the charities are like, what? This has happened, no cost to us. Local building suppliers, they've got part of some. So everybody wins. The business, I always say to people, don't do this to get a name for your business, but you will get work from it because people want to work with people you know.
Well, you
people
know
to
what?
trust.
I mean, for me, you know, one of my values as a human, not as a business owner, just as a bloke, is do well, do good. You know, if you're lucky enough to have done all right, you should be looking at what you can do to contribute to the world. And I know that there's loads of, organisations, Round Table, for example, and Rotary, where there's business, like members of the business community get together, and one of their primary focuses is what can they deliver using. Because what you tend to find is business owners typically are pretty resourceful. So, like, what resources can we get access to that can do a bit of good? And it's one of those things where, again, might be a bit selfish. I do it because it makes me feel good, but helping others, is just
Everybody
part of-
wins.
everybody wins. Everybody
And
wins.
I always say to because often when you go and chat to business leaders or different people, they think I'm there to ask for money. And I say, listen, I'm not after your money. I'm after your heart.
Yeah.
So if I can, and what will happen sometimes, I'll take someone to get them to see a property or to see a project, to see a charity, and then their hearts are like, yeah, we've got to do something here. We've got to make this happen. So I'm kind of like working in behind the scenes, I'm just kind of like a bit of a matchmaker.
Yeah. Making connections. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I suppose part of the reason why this has worked in Carlisle so well is like from the sounds of it, you've got like the local authority, the local council engaged, and then business engaged, and then do you think that partnership in terms of making a project work like this is key?
Without partnership, nothing happens. If we said it at the start 7-8 years ago, say, hey, Carlisle Vineyard, we want this to be our thing for the city, we're going to give a day to the city, man, it would have been the biggest flop ever.
Yeah.
So what we said was, Give a Day isn't something that we do to the city, we do it with the city.
Yeah, it's building a community, isn't it?
So I know I've got a role to play, and people will say, oh, Andy, he's the Give a Day guy. But the reality is, Give a Day has only happened because of people in Carlisle who say, I'm in.
I think the interesting thing about this is, you can, sort of benevolently give, but potentially the power of this is the purpose you can create in the guys who feel that they're just turning up for the money. It's that, it's weird when we have, talking about work, I run a financial planning business. Typically, the sort of guys and girls we speak to in their sort of mid-50s and thinking about what's next. And one of the things that we often talk about is the importance of purpose. And you want to feel like you're getting up in the morning and adding value to something. And sometimes when you see people who have been less fortunate, is you can sense that sort of sense of purpose has been lost a bit, and getting somebody involved in a project like this can potentially start bringing that sense of purpose and value back to that individual. I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
One of the schools we worked with a couple of years ago, there was a group of lads, and they were referred to as the bad lads. And I said, how about we call them future leaders?
Yeah.
And what we did for one day, me and my mate Ricky, and working with a head teacher at a local school, we set them up as a landscape business. They're all 13, 14. And we set them up as a landscape business, and they were called the Five Musketeers Landscaping. And they pulled off a landscaping job in there, and they got an award. But I'm not joking. I wish I'd measured them at the start of the day and at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I'm saying, guys, there's nothing stopping you leaving school and setting up the Five Musketeers landscape business. And it's just breathing encouragement, and it's saying, you can do this.
But using those energies and actually those skills that they might have learned to apply a bit of focus to something that's going to be a bit more constructive. It's so important.
I've got a friend. Sorry.
Sorry, go on. Tell me, Andy.
I've got a friend, and he's been an incredible support. A guy called Roger, who actually I knew from years ago, and he's got a brilliant business in the city, and he's all aboard. Whatever it is, he'll help make it happen. And he challenged me once and said, Andy, look, if we were to give, for example, £10,000 to help make this happen, do you think you could make it into £100,000 worth of good work? And it's been really good for that challenge to be able to say that's our standard. If somebody gives a little bit of money, we've got to make it tenfold.
10 times. Yeah.
Now we've got to be careful, because we've got some friends from an organization called Ratio. These guys are incredible, and they've come to help us understand a little bit about what Give a Day is, what are the key ingredients, and how we can maybe see this happen elsewhere. And the one thing he said once, and it's like the nicest compliment ever, he said, we've seen a lot of different things, but this is the purest thing we've ever seen. And I'm like, oh, so my question is, how do we keep our purity? And money is one of the key things. So too much money would spoil us, but we obviously need a bit of money. But we always say, look, we want people to be use initiative. So I've got a friend in business, and I say, listen, if you want to give a couple £100, we're going to take that and we're going to put £1 in every kid's hand. And then we challenge the kids, go multiply that £1. And then whatever money you make from it, use that for your Give a Day projects. And for those who've been overlooked, for those who are unseen and unappreciated in the city, go do something for them. And the kids pull off incredible things.
It's tapping into that unused talent, isn't it? That is amazing. So Carlisle's got a bright future by the sounds of it, particularly with the work that you're doing. If somebody's listening to this and wants to do something in their own town or city, where do they even start?
Well, I just think they start looking in the hand. What have you got? What's in your hand? What are you good at? What are you bothered about?
Yeah.
And life's more fun when we do it with others.
Agreed.
I love Give a Day, but in one sense, I don't care about building a brand. I don't,
It's always the people, isn't it? It's always the people.
I don't. So this is beginning to happen in a few different places and a few different cities. People are kind of exploring what that looks like. And we're just helping to resource that in that place. My friend who leads does Give a Day up in Ayr in Scotland, he's brilliant. He said what I love about Give a Day is the simplicity of it removes any suspicion. So what I would say to people is, what are you bothered about? And I think, Chris, botheredness, if I could give anything away, I'd give botheredness away, because when people are bothered, then they do something. I would say, look on your street, start in your home. Who on your street needs a little bit of courage? Who needs a tea party? Who needs a street party? Who needs a little bit of joy?
Start small and then expand it from there. Great tip. And
if anybody wanted to chat to us, you can get in touch through carlislevineyard.com website, or giveadaytothecity.org, or fire me email. I'll probably forget. I'm rubbish with admin. And then eventually Miriam will call and apologize. But when I'm here, I'm all here.
Yeah. So on that note, can you give us the website address again and where people can get in touch? You on social media? How do people get in touch specifically?
Yeah. So my name's Andy Fearon. So Andy@carlislevineyard.com. That'll be an email that will get picked up at some point within now and before the year 2054. But there's carlislevineyard.com website, and there's it tells you a little bit about Give a Day on there, but also giveadaytothecity.org. And we've got some beautiful videos on there. If you search on YouTube for Give a Day to the City, you'll see also, if you search Give a Day or Days of Kindness, there's things happening all over the world.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that at our end that when this goes out on all of the show notes, which you can get access to on www.thekindnessproject.co.uk, all of the links to getting in touch with Andy and the websites will be on there. Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I mean, we're recording this on a Friday morning / lunchtime. I can't think of a better way to spend my Fridays. So thank you for being an amazing guest.
Oh, it's been an absolute honor. And I feel like I could chat because I've got so much to learn. We're still learning in this. So, I mean, can I just say one last thing?
Of course.
For those who are listening and you're in your street, your town, your city, your place, maybe your country, you know, because when we started Give a Day, we said this has to work in the richest and the poorest cities. So we often wait for somebody more gifted, more qualified, more called, more anointed than us. But if you're listening, if you've got an ounce of botheredness, then you're the one. You're the man, you're the woman for it. And if we can pour some fertilizer on you, send you some resources, whatever, then get in touch.
Amazing. Thank you, Andy. I really appreciate that. And you'll have to come on again now, mate, and let us know how you're getting on.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. And here's the thing, there's more stories to happen in Carlisle, and the best ideas are not going to come from me. So we're just trying to create a right environment.
Yeah, just facilitate, right? Oh. Yeah, get it done.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, mate. Speak soon.
Bless you, man. Bye-bye.
So that's the last part of Andy's interview. Charlotte, do you want to do your bit?
Oh, my bit. 'Tis the end of another podcast. But the end is never real at the end. Because the end is always something, the beginning of something entirely new.
And then the last week's question of the podcast was, what's the longest period of time you've waited for something? Al McCann said, between idea and execution, I waited 10 years to travel in South America. Steve Dan said, I'm waiting for England to win the World Cup in my lifetime. Still waiting. Jade Forrester Jarrett said, 3 years to my wedding goes so quick. I want all my life to see Genesis, but seeing them next week if he makes it. And the weird thing is, when Jade said that, she was due to see Genesis, but they got COVID and cancelled. So I'm hoping that she does get to see them. Judy Wedge said, I've waited so long to see Queen, postponed twice, rolling on 2022. Ilyas Oub said, I've been waiting to upgrade my camera for 2 years. Does that count? Steve Chilton said a refund on a cancelled Ryanair flight. That was in September 2018. I'm still waiting. And Robert Kingett said, I'm still waiting for West Ham to win a trophy. And on that note, my friends, have a lovely week. Hopefully we'll see you in better health next week on the Kindness Project. Bye.
Bye.